there was a huge suburban push, right? With the advent of the automobile, you had urban renewal. I'm sure you can touch on that. How does the car fit into all this? Because we've kind of danced around that topic, right? The car plays a huge role in our culture, but also how this zoning is written.
Yeah. No, that's a great flag. I think that's one of the biggest changes that happens with respect to cities over the course of the 20th century is there's a radical change in the way that humans get around. So again, just like level set from like 10,000 years of human civilization, right? For the vast majority of, history, the way that most folks get around is their feet, right? We walk. I think people there was this great Reddit thread of like what did a Roman parking lot look like? And it's like the Romans didn't have parking lots. Like you walked everywhere. If you were fabulously wealthy, maybe you had like a carriage, right? Uh, but you walked everywhere. And then beginning in the late 19th century, early 20th century, we start getting streetcars, right? And that allows cities to rapidly expand outward. And then we get mass automobile ownership. And that's a totally different way of getting around. And transportation really, I think, is you can't understand urban form without understanding how people get around, right? Because if you're on foot, everything in your life kind of needs to be within a 30-minute walk of you. Everything within your life needs to be within about a mile and a half, right? If you can take a streetcar to work, okay, everything in your life maybe needs to be within 5 miles or so, right? Depending on the available streetcar. If you have a car, everything can be a lot further away and everything's a point to point trip. And so cars are great in a certain way and they dramatically increase individual mobility. But the trouble with cars, for all their benefits, is they take up a lot of space. And certainly in the early days, they're polluting, right? If you don't believe me, right? Like we take this for granted, I think almost today, but if you're ever riding behind like an historic vehicle, you're immediately reminded of okay, these things are like they didn't have like all the modern technologies that modern cars have. They were noisy. They generate a lot of air pollution. So I think what happens with the advent of the car is that cities can spread out. So most people have the means to move to a suburb or they have the means to shop and work in completely different parts of the city. But then also, too, because cars are such a quality of life concern, we start designing all of our streets around maximizing vehicular throughput to the detriment of maybe people walking or riding a bike or taking a bus. Um, Cities start to become really unpleasant. And so there's also this push factor of people want to get out of cities. And so the need to accommodate the car dramatically remakes our cities. And we start getting rules like minimum parking mandates, which say that if you want to open a shop or if you want to build an apartment building, you can only do that if you build tons and tons of off-street parking. Right? We carve up our cities with urban freeways and, freeways between cities. Great innovation, dramatically improved the connectivity of America and, kicked off multiple generations of prosperity. But freeways within cities clear out a lot of these old historic neighborhoods, generate a lot of air quality issues and a lot of noise pollution issues that make cities less and less livable and cause certain issues. And so it essentially forces planners to even double down on some of these ideas they had about separating uses and suppressing densities, because that's really the only way that building a city around the car will work.
Yeah, the parking thing is big. I'm glad you brought that up. That is a change. I know Minneapolis got rid of parking minimums in their city. It was either Syracuse or Buffalo, or maybe both, that also is talking about it. Tampa's talking about parking minimums. Parking's a big one. I mean, it'd be one thing if your car could fold in your pocket, it wouldn't matter, right? But cars need to go somewhere. They're huge, right? They weigh thousands of pounds. In Tampa, we have, I mean, I don't know, we have a map. It almost seems like 50% of our downtown is parking lots or parking garages. And I think that
Yeah.
I think beyond some of those more origin stories about zoning, they're horrible. It sucks that happened. It definitely was a long time ago. And I know you want to shake people and let them know, hey, those laws are still in place. But I think your analysis about the car is spot on. Like the reason why they're still in place is the automobile, right? The planners had to have space for all these automobiles as people drove into the cities from the suburbs. Now more than ever that people want to live in the cities, and there's a lot of people moving to Florida in every aspect, so it's kind of hard to tell if people are moving to the city or the suburbs, but a lot of people are moving to the city to live in the city, right? They want that walkable lifestyle. how can a city solve for that? How do you balance that, right? You kind of still need the parking, you still need the automobile. What are things you would recommend a city could do to solve for that parking slash car equation?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, to my mind, the way I approach this issue is it's about giving people choice, right? A lot of people do want to live in a detached single family home way out in the suburbs. They want to primarily commute by car. They like the suburban lifestyle, and that's totally cool, right? I mean, that's how I grew up. I understand. I see the appeal. But as you're suggesting, a lot of people also want to move in cities. Maybe they want to go car light or car free. They want to be able to walk or take a bus or ride a bike to daily necessities. And if you want that first category of lifestyle, we massively provide it. In fact, we mandate it and we subsidize it. If you want to live a suburban lifestyle, right, or as former President Trump said, so your suburban lifestyle dream, right? Like we got that for you in spades. But if you want to live in an existing neighborhood and walk around, we either make it illegal or we make it just really, really, really difficult. And so we're not giving people actual choice around the types of neighborhoods that they can and can't live in. We've imposed one vision for that. So to your actual question about what to do about this, I think with parking in particular, a lot of cities, it's so funny. I'm always hearing like, oh, our downtown doesn't have enough parking. Almost in every case, there's tons and tons of parking. It's just not effectively utilized.
Yeah.
People cruising the block looking for free on-street parking when they could just go to a garage and pay like $2 for 3 hours of parking. I think better management is important here because, yeah, I think in almost every major city in America, most of the people coming into the city are going to be driving, and you got to have a plan for that. You can't just say ban cars in most existing cities, but you can be smart about it. You can say, hey, let's take some measures to actually make sure that it's just hard for people to speed or drive dangerously in some of these areas, so you're not making life miserable for everyone else who's walking, riding, taking a bus. Let's have policies where we actually do smart parking management to say, hey, you're coming downtown. We're going to direct you right into this parking garage. There's going to be a reasonable fare. Don't spend hours causing traffic looking for a free on-street parking space, right? There's the Seinfeld joke about this. Like, parking is like sex. Why would I pay for it when if I apply myself, I can get it for free? I think this is the mentality people have. People will spend like 15, 20, 30 minutes cruising for a free parking space when they could just go into a garage and pay $5, right? Which, if you have any theory of like time value of money, is obviously the correct thing to do, and save themselves and the city a lot of trouble.
Hey guys, if you want to watch the full episode of this clip, click right here. Make sure to subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you for watching.